Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I have some YA romance recs for you, which is exciting because I've never actually done this video before, which is kind of crazy when I think about it, because I've read tons of YA over the past couple years, so hopefully these videos will be a little more frequent. So let's just get right into the rec. First book is On the Fence by Kasie West. This is one of my favorite Kasie West books. It's about a girl who, I believe she has 3 brothers and lives next to another boy who's the same age as her brothers. And so growing up she was kind of always like one of the guys. She hung out with them all the time and they sort of always treated her like a guy, and now that she's older she's getting a little bit annoyed that the boy next door is treating her like a guy when she kind of wants that to not be the case. And every night they go out and sit sort of back to back against their backyard fences and talk, and I just think it was like really cute how they would just do that. Like they couldn't see each other, they would just sit back to back against the fence and talk at like midnight when no one else was up, and I just thought their like whole relationship was really cute in this one. Like I said, this is one of my favorite Kasie West books. Kasie West has tons of good YA romance books if you're looking for any, and this one just happens to be my favorite. Next is Cool for the Summer by Dahlia Ahdler. And this one is about a girl who spends the summer sort of dating this girl at, I think she's at like a beach house, and she comes home, goes back to school, basically thinks she's never going to see this girl again and she's just going to move on with her life. And she comes back to school and this guy that she's had a crush on for years is suddenly paying attention to her and asking her to homecoming and like all this stuff that she's sort of like pictured in her head as like her like dream situation. And she's like super excited that it's finally happening, but at the same time she's kind of like, okay, this is happening, but I don't really care because I keep thinking about that girl from the summer. And this girl actually transfers to her school and she thinks she wants to keep it a secret. She's not talking about the summer. They're pretending they don't know each other. And there's this whole sort of, you know, I guess relationship growth or personal growth that the main character goes through. Sort of deciding like, does she want this life she always pictured or does she want the girl from the summer? And I just thought this book was really cool, the way it was done that way, that like she's sort of deciding between these like 2 worlds she was living in. And I really like this one. Again, it's a good YA rec, that has LGBT references too. There's tons of representation in this book as well. Next is The Upside of Falling by Alex Light. I thought this one was really cute. I believe it's a football player in this book, and it's just a high school football romance basically. I think this book was originally written on Wattpad, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I believe it was. And it's just a really quick read. Again, high school football player romance, there's not much more I can say about it other than that. But there were certain aspects of this book that I did really like. Like I believe in this one the main character reads a lot of romance books and things like that, and I just like reading about younger kids that like to read, I guess, which is sort of like a really weirdly specific thing to like in books. But I do really like when the younger characters in books read a lot because they don't seem to normally do that, which is strange, but I don't know. Next is Until Friday Night by Abbi, Glines, or the Field Party series as a whole. I love these books. This is like one of the only YA series that I am still actively reading as the books come out. You can see them all right here. This is all of the ones that are out so far. The 6th one comes out November 16th, I believe, and I believe there's one more after that as well. And I really love these ones. These are all high school football books. They're standalones, but you can read them together or not. Each one is following a different guy on the football team. Personally, the first 3 were my favorites. I really loved those ones. I'm excited for this new one that's coming out as well. And like I said, this is one of the few YA series that I will read now. So if that's like not saying something, I don't know what does. Because I don't read a ton of YA anymore. But this series, like, I know I will buy that new book when it comes out because it's really good. Like I said, each book focuses on a different couple in this high school town, super small town. They all go to these like field parties every Friday night or after every football game or whatever, and they have like big bonfires, and it's just very like small town, like cozy football vibes, and I am here for all of those things, so I really like this series. Next is When It's Real by Erin. If you didn't know, Erin is the pen name for Elle Kennedy and Jen Frederick. I love this book. I think it is such an underhyped YA book. It is about a girl who fake dates a pop star who's sort of like the equivalent of like Justin Bieber in his prime, and I just really like this one. I find one thing, if you're into YA books and you're looking for YA books that sort of read closer to new adult but are still YA, I find anything published by Harlequin Teen is really good for that, like, sort of pushing that line of YA and still giving you enough that you're, like, satisfied, but not, like, being overly graphic, because, like, it's still YA. And so if you're looking for something that's, like, closer to sort of, you know, pushing on to new adult, then Harlequin Teen publishes some really great books. This one is one of them. And like I said, fake dating between a pop star and a totally normal girl who gets paid tons of money to fake date him. And obviously they start growing closer, because that's what always happens when people fake date. And so this is just one that I personally really, really love. Next is Cupid's Match by Lauren. I already know I cannot say or remember her last name, but I will have the book cover over here so you can read her name on the book probably. I really love this book. This is another Wattpad published book. It sort of got fantasy elements to it, but I wouldn't really, maybe it's like an urban fantasy, I guess you could call it. It's very, like, modern day, even though there are fantastical elements to it. This one is about a sort of company that is, like, literally Cupids. Like, they're sort of, like, immortal, like, people, and they're not, like, tiny babies. They're, like, you know, like, people. And Cupid himself is, like, 17, but really he's, like, probably, like, 100 and something. And he's not supposed to be matched to anyone ever. Like, that is, like, the one rule is, like, Cupid does not get matched. And this girl finds out that she is Cupid's match, and they, like, call her down to this, like, office building where they're, like, front for their businesses. And it's, like, this whole thing, they're like, you can't be matched to Cupid, and she's like, well, I didn't do anything, you called me, you know? And it's just, I really like this one. And like I said, I'm not normally one for, like, fantasy, really, unless I know I'm getting into fantasy, but this was just really, really well done. Like I said, probably urban fantasy, because it is really, like, still modern day, even though there is so much going on. And I just really like this one. I think the story was really interesting, even as, like, a non-typical YA reader. I think this one, like, anyone would like this book, and so I highly recommend this one as well. Next is 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tillie Cole. I feel like everybody's heard about this book, and everybody knows that this book will make you cry a lot. This book is very sad. I don't want to say what it deals with. I feel like you probably know what it deals with. I guessed what it dealt with, and I was right. I will say this book deals with something that I normally try to avoid in books, just, like, because for me it's too close to home, and because of that I didn't love this book, but I do think that a lot of people would love this book, which is why I'm including it in this video. And it's just, like I said, really heartbreaking, really sad. And so if you're looking for a YA book that's going to make you cry, this is it. So that's all I'm going to say about this, because I don't think the back of the book even tells you what's really going on in this book. But it's beautiful, but horrible at the same time. So do with that what you will. Next is The Problem with Forever by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is a pretty popular one. I did talk about this one in my first episode of TikTok Made Me Read It. And this one is about two foster kids who sort of grew up together briefly, and the boy was always sort of protecting the girl in this abusive home they were in. And they end up getting separated, and it's, like, years later, and they've both ended up at the same high school, and now they're sort of, you know, old enough to date and things like that. And so there's a lot of things that come about with that happening. And this one is really cute. I do think if you're looking for YA books, this one is really good. And like I said, I really liked it. Jennifer L. Armentrout's obviously a very popular author, very good author. I really like her stuff, and this one is pretty good as well. And the last books I'm going to talk about in this video is the Dimily series, which is the Did I Mention I Love You books. I have had these books on my radar for so long. I finally read them earlier this year, or maybe last year, I honestly can't remember. But actually I think it was earlier this year. This one is about a girl who sort of dates her stepbrother, but not really. And it's like, they're not related, and they're not dating for a lot of it, but it's like them sort of pining after each other, I guess. And I really like these books. I feel like I would equate these almost to, like, the younger YA version of After by Anna Todd, in the sense that, like, with that sort of, like, angsty, forbidden sort of thing going on. and also in the sense that like you keep wanting to read the next book. There are 3 books in this series, and then one I believe is from his point of view. I didn't read that one, but I did read the first 3, and like I said, really good YA books. These deal with a lot of YA issues within them. Thought they were really good, really well done for YA books. And so those are all of my book recommendations for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. I do new videos every single week, and I will see you next time.